One problem that I've always had with yardsticks, especially because of parallax, is that making accurate marks can be tricky. And it doesn't help that most rulers have two readings. This one's got both metric and imperial, so if I have to measure from the edge of one side, I've got to place the stick just right and make sure the mark is accurate. And even then, it's easy to be off. I recently made a small mistake because of that, so I decided to fix my yardstick by adding what I call a saddle arm. Now my yardstick lines up clean to the edge. The perpendicular arm goes on like this. And let's say I want to do 4 inches. I'll move this down to 4 inches. So right on that line, I can draw a pencil mark. And I'm at exactly 4 inches. And it doesn't matter that I have this little metric system on this side. I know that it's going to be accurate because I've lined it up to that mark. Today I'm going to show you how I transformed my yardstick into something much better. Let's get started. Really simple project here. You only need a piece of stock. I think this is 1 5/8 by about 13 to 14 inches. A screw with a nut. I've got a knurled thumb nut here, as well as a yardstick. The piece of stock that I have here is a furring strip. It's very cheap. It's very boring. So I decided to create something that would make this a little bit more fun. And this is just a piece of hardboard, Jatoba and hard maple. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll part this off at 3 different pieces that are at 4 inches. We're going to turn the first piece into the perpendicular piece so that we can draw our lines. I'm going to start this off by finding the center, which is going to be 2 inches. And now we'll take this back over to the table saw. Now I need to raise my blade so that it's the thickness of my ruler. And that feels pretty good right there. Now what I'll do is I'll find the center of this, and I want to make sure that I make a cut on that first. But I'm going to put a stop block on one side and lock it down. You don't have to have something complicated like this. You can just add a block of wood to the top and that'll work fine. Now I can go ahead and make my cuts with this. I'll make a cut and flip it over and make another cut. And then after I've made the first cut, I'll move this over just slightly and I'll keep continuing the process until this fits inside of here. Now with this cut out, I can place it on top of my ruler, and there is a little bit of play here, which is okay because if this were really tight, it would be difficult to slide it exactly where I want it. With it being loose, I can slide it to the measurement that I have and then make my mark. The one problem that I have with this is that even though I put it at that 12 here and add a line, if I move this away, you can see that I'm just slightly off. To fix this so that I'm exactly on that 12, I'm going to add a little bit of an offset on the top of this. To figure out what my offset is, I've clamped my ruler down to my tabletop, and what I did was I basically found different thicknesses. I placed them against the edge here, and then when I thought that I had lined it up exactly like, let's say I want to do it at 18 inches here, put it right on that line, make sure that I'm right where I would be if I were measuring something, and then drawing a line and checking afterwards to see if it lines up. And this veneer is just a little bit too thick, but I found that a playing card works really well. So I'll line this up to, let's say 16, draw my line, and that looks like I'm right at 16. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of sandpaper. This is 400 grit, and I'm just going to do a little tiny bit of sanding. I obviously don't want to make this a little bit thinner. It's just enough to get the glue to catch on something. I'll add a couple drops of glue, and that is way too much. I'll put my card on, overlapping that just a little bit, scrap stock just to hold it in place, and then a single clamp. You don't want to over tighten it either. We'll give this a little bit of time to dry, and we'll come back, and you'll notice I didn't do it on the other side because if I ever want to use something like a Kiridashi knife, then it's going to be a little bit different in thickness compared to my pencil. So we'll come back. With this dry now, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut the back off, as well as cutting out this notch here, and I'm going to cut the ends off. And now I've got this perfect little offset that will give me a more accurate mark. The next thing that I want to do is add a hook on the end. They'll come together like this, and then they'll end up at the end of my ruler. Now, this is a pretty large gap. I'm not going to be able to use this space here to measure, but with a yardstick like this, I usually don't do a lot of small details anyway. So we're going to go back over to the table saw and cut this out again, just like we did the first one. Like before, I need to raise my blade to the thickness of my yardstick. This time I made it so that it fits like it snaps in place. Now with the third piece, I'm just going to glue this part, and this is the part that will attach to the ruler. I'm going to attach it to the side like that. So this attaches like that. Okay, this is dry, and honestly I don't really need a very long hook, so I'm just going to go ahead and come in here and maybe cut right about there, which is about 1/2 of an inch. We'll just do it with the table saw sled. We do need to make sure that this reaches all the way to our hook, and I've already gone ahead and tested this out. I made a mark and then checked it with another ruler, so I know that this is accurate. So I'm going to add a machine screw so that I can take this off. This is a 6/32, so I'm going to be using an 1/8 inch drill bit to drill that hole out. To find my center, I'm just going to draw a line connecting these 2 points of contact. I need the screw to sit flush, so I'm going to be using a single flute countersink bit. Because I know that I will misplace this at some point in the future, I'm going to add a magnet to the bottom of this so that I don't lose it. To calibrate this, and really as long as your table saw sled is square, you shouldn't have to do much. I used a square that I trust and drew a line on my board. Now I can set my anchor on the edge and then line this up for accuracy. From what I see, I am pretty close to being perfect. I think I might be just slightly off, but that's where just a little piece of tape fits in on the end, and it looks like right there is going to do it for me. I've got a little piece of aluminum tape here that I'm going to put on that one side. Now we'll see if this makes it a little bit more square. And that is perfect. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me that you're here in the shop with me. Please give a shout out to my patrons for their continued support in the comments, and remember to keep making things.